Okay, so today we're doing backfill. This is a job we dug about a little over a week ago. So backfill, it's kind of a love-hate relationship in my opinion. It's not hard, but it's dirty. Makes your machine all muddy. You know, wonderful thing about Arizona, the only time we gotta work in mud is when we create it. And today we're creating it. Really, as sandy as this ground is, it does have a lot of clay in it, but there's also a lot of sand in it. Especially from the AV layer that was on top of the ground. It ought to not be too bad. It won't take a whole lot of moisture to get this to the level that it needs. It's almost there now, so we're not going to have to get carried away mixing it, I don't think. See what some of these other piles look like once we break them open. But I don't mind backfilling. I just hate the fact that when I get done backfilling, it ends up I need to clean my windows, wash my machine. It's kind of one of them things. Like I say, it's a love-hate relationship. What you do got to be careful of when you are backfilling is putting too much dirt in at once. We got to get compaction in this. That's the reason for adding the water, not really for dust control. And so we got to get compaction because this is a certified pad, so they want it back. I don't know if they're going to do a compaction test or not, but that remains to be seen. They don't give us lowly backhoe operators that kind of information. So we just kind of go, okay. Like I say, we're mixing this up. You process this material. If you just spray water on the top, all it does is get in the top, and it doesn't really mix in. You need, they call it optimum moisture, and it's whatever your soils report tells you. You got to have a moisture content. While you really can't have a such thing as too much water, you can. If you get this stuff too wet, you just can't compact it mechanically, and then it's got to sit in the ground till it dries before they can test it. Depending on your conditions, that can be 3 days or it can be a month. It just depends. So if you put it in and it's all just slippy, sloppy mud, you're kind of at a disadvantage because you're not really going to be able to push on it with a wheel or with a compaction wheel or a vibratory plate. It's just going to sit there and be like jello. This type of work can go really fast or it can go really slow. It depends on how good your hose guy is. Really, that's who makes or breaks you in this, is your hose guy and your material. See, we couldn't have a hose running when we started this, so they've been over here spraying it down every afternoon before they leave for the last 3 days, which has worked well because it's been putting a lot of moisture in it. We don't have to spend a whole lot of time processing it. But when we dug this up, I won't tell you it was powder dry, but it wasn't this. It didn't have this much moisture in it. And so it just, you got to make sure you're getting your moisture content. Because if they do a compaction test and you get the compaction where you want, but you fail the moisture portion of it, they'll still fail it. So there's a lot of little factors and nuances to it. It's just one of them things. It's knowing what you want at the end of the day. And it's knowing your soil. Depending on what part of the valley we dig in here, we get different soil conditions dependingly. So we're on a job a few miles from here that's in the river bottom, basically. And it's nothing but river rock. I mean, big 2-foot size boulders and smaller. So everything's got to get screened before it gets put back in the ground because you can't compact 2-foot minus. It just doesn't work that way. So you won't get certified compaction on it. So again, there's a lot to it. It's, the term I guess to use is simply complex. Other than that, it just, you know, like everything else in this business, repeat, 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 and you'll have it made. Played out. I don't know, some people call them a hoe pack. I've heard different names for them. Basically, it's a glorified piece of steel with a vibrator on it, and it works pretty dang good for plumbing. It also works really good in sticky soils because as it vibrates and slips, it doesn't stick. They're not very common around this area. I know in other parts of the country they are, so some of you guys watching probably know a lot more about it than I do, but as far as I know, I'm only like one of two guys around here that I know of that have one. All of my customers love it because it works so well and it leaves such a nice finish, especially on shallow pipe. With a compaction wheel, you get over, if you get pipe that's shallower than 18 inches, you got to be real careful compacting it. And if it's less than a foot, you probably can't use a compaction wheel and get compaction on it. You take a real good chance of crushing the pipe. This tool, I've gotten across pipe that was 6 inches deep and gotten compaction on it because it doesn't really use force, it uses vibration to settle everything down. So, I mean, you do push on it with the backhoe, but it's just, you know, it puts pressure on the ground a whole lot different than a compaction wheel. So, the other thing I like it is the conditions are a lot more variable for it. So it can be really wet and you'll get away with it. And it can be, I won't say really dry, but a lot drier than perfect. And you can get compaction with it. As opposed to a wheel. A wheel's pretty finicky because stuff starts sticking to it and then it pulls it up just as fast as you're pushing compaction into it. But shucks, we've had this thing forever. I like it. If you're really trying to do some high-end type of finish work with it, it works really good. Disadvantage it has is because it's rubber grommeted, you can't jump your machine around with your boom with it on very easily. It can be a tad bit challenging. So